while able to acquire the plot before the Phantom Menace hit the theaters.
Was Everclear's hit Santa Monica about a girlfriend's suicide?
Hey everybody, this is Big Randy with the Smarts Project. I've provided security and transportation for some of the biggest names in the music industry.
I'm John. I've been a musician for over 20 years, playing everything from metal and punk to bluegrass and country.
We're bringing you a podcast about some of the weirdest myths and legends that the music industry has to offer. This is Tall Tales and Music Mythology. Hey everybody, this is Big Randy with the Smarts Project, and welcome to the podcast. And now, with his big black boots and an old suitcase, I do believe he's found himself a new place, Mr. Jonathan Glove.
Hello, everybody.
So, with the Smarts Project, the only thing I got is we're starting the raffle on November 1st, although things may go to November 7th. Having a tough time finding, it is so easy to find a company that's willing to print the tickets. Mm-hmm. It's so hard to find a company that's willing to print tickets that look nice. Yeah, so there's, we can get those little cheap ass ones on the rolls.
Right.
You can get those ones that look like from some church bazaar back in the 50s, or something like that. But I really I don't want them fancy. I just want them looking nice.
We'll have to figure out, we were looking at those ones either last week or the week before.
Yeah.
Let's pull those up again and see what they look like.
I tell you what, man, there's some of these knuckleheads I was talking to, and they was like, yeah, and it's only going to cost you like $1.11 a ticket. Really? You're going to charge me over $1 a ticket? Jeez. So anyway, 100% of the money for the all of the money, not just like the profits or whatever, like every single dime that we get from the raffle is going to go towards the programs, equipment, and building the business foundation, which is legal papers and release forms and things like that we need for the Smarts Project. And we're probably going to have the drawing right around February 11th, but we'll keep you updated. Just for those of you that want to keep in the loop, check us out on the social media and check us out on the website. And actually had the conversation with Brandon. And
nice.
Finally got a hold of our IT guy, and I was like, hey, probably should talk to you about a month ago. But he's like, no, I'm used to it.
I'm assuming he said it probably wouldn't be too difficult to put
it's somebody like him,
Yeah, he knows his stuff for sure, I can tell.
But I so feel like I treat him like I don't know, like a neglected child, because I tell him about it. He's like, no, I'm used to it. No, man, I'm sorry, man. Brandon, I should have told you like a month. No, it's okay. I'm used to it. Like the disappointment in his voice, I'm going to get him like some kind of a gift card for a therapy session or something. So, in the music news, the Eagles have been celebrating the music of late co-founder Glenn Frey since the group began performing again during July, 18 months after Glenn Frey's death at the age of 67. But that celebration had a bit more resonance on this past Friday, October 27th, when the group performed in Glenn Frey's hometown of Detroit, Michigan for the first time since his passing.
I didn't know he was from Detroit.
I didn't either. Yeah, with Glenn Frey's new window. Oh, wow. With Glenn Frey's widow, Cindy, daughter Taylor, and a core of relatives cheering the group on, the Eagles offered a number of tributes to its late co-founder at Little Caesars Arena, which I think is a horrible, even as a fat guy, I'm telling you, Little Caesars Arena, bro, I love Little Caesars. But come on.
I really, really, really hate all the corporate buyouts of these stadiums like that, which, I mean, it's been going on since at least the mid-90s that I know of.
Yeah, I was thinking late 80s.
Yeah. It just, oh, God, that's just terrible. Come on, give it a name. Give it a real name, not just a brand. I mean, Jesus.
But the most moving of which came from his son and new band member, Deacon Frey. The younger Fry sported a vintage Detroit Tigers. I know I'm going to say this wrong, but I think the guy's name is Al Kaline.
Oh,
but
yeah.
Whenever I read it, it read Alkaline.
Right, yeah. And I always thought that was funny, his name.
I'm sure I'm not the first one to ever think that. But.
Oh, no. I thought it when I was a kid.
Oh, right.
Even so.
And that's a baseball team, right? Okay.
Yeah, Detroit Tigers, they have always sucked. I can't ever remember them being good.
Well, consistency is important.
I mean, maybe they've been good since, I stopped watching any sports about 10 or 12 years ago,
right.
But
So he had the Al Kaline jersey and introduced Peaceful, Easy Feeling by saying, "What a treat for me to be back here in my dad's hometown. It's kind of awesome." Huh. He acknowledged his relatives and, after the song, mouthed, "Thank you, Dad," or "That's for you, Dad," toward the arena ceiling as a sepia-toned image of his father appeared on the video screen behind the stage. Huh. Don Henley, meanwhile, paid tribute to Deacon Fry's poise, noting that he played small venues and private shows with his father. The younger Fry's first official Eagles show was before 55,000 at the Classic West concert in Los Angeles Dodger Stadium.
Damn.
He's a chip off the old block, Don Henley declared. And later, before killing New Kid in Town, and I saw the video of it and rocked. The other new Eagle, Vince Gill, later added, "What an honor it is to be in the hometown of my dear friend Glenn Fry and singing his songs for you." He's such a humble dude, though.
Dude, I was just talking about Vince Gill to somebody again the other day. I can't remember who it was. But, yeah, man, Vince Gill is just...
He just makes me sick. He's just so humble.
Yeah,
yeah. Got a hot wife and everything. I mean, what more could you want out of life? You know? And this guy's just like, it's cool.
I remember there was a gospel group back in the early 90s that my dad and I played with one time called the Isaacs. And they're... one of the daughters of the group, Sonia, she actually sang. She was a backup vocalist for Vince Gill in the mid to late 90s. But yeah, so
she said the same thing about them.
Oh yeah, well, we met them before she sang for Vince Gill.
Oh, I see.
So yeah, we were watching Vince Gill perform on TV one time. It's like, oh hey, there's Sonia Isaac. Hey, cool.
I'll be there.
Yeah.
So the Eagles have one more show left on its short fall tour, playing Sunday, October 29th at the Grand Ole Opry House in Nashville, Tennessee. A private show. Today. Oh, it is, isn't it? A private show that will be recorded and broadcasted during Thanksgiving weekend on the group's limited run Sirius XM Eagles channel.
Huh, gotcha.
Yeah, I wonder who got him into the Grand Ole Opry.
Right, yeah. Huh, how did that happen?
If they only knew somebody with some pull in Nashville.
Because that is weird. I mean, I guess some of the Eagles songs kind of have a little bit of a country tinge to them, especially the Peaceful, Easy Feeling, obviously, is one. But, yeah, because some of their songs definitely do not fit in the Grand Ole Opry.
Oh, yeah.
That's for sure. Like, Life in the Fast Lane, it doesn't exactly, or Hotel California.
Yeah, but I mean, compared to that 80s rock stuff they're calling country music nowadays, I mean, all that Luke Aldine stuff.
Yeah.
And really, I was going to tell you, man, before I even start on the story, look, I'm putting my phone down and everything. I believe you may have started a movement.
Oh, with mixing up
the Luke Aldine thing. Now, I'm going to tell you this. I have had, I'm going to say no less than 10 people that some of them that I don't know that have contacted me and said pretty much the same thing that I said, that they've never heard anybody say the Luke Aldine, but they knew exactly what it meant whenever they heard it.
I did another one like that. I reviewed out of spite. I reviewed Brett Eldridge's new album because that dude sucks. That dude is even worse.
Don't be shy.
That guy's just absolutely terrible. And I did another one. I forget what mashup I did with that one of two different names, but it's not nearly as funny as Luke Aldine.
So, it just rolls off the tongue.
Exactly, right? And again, everyone knows because they're so interchangeable.
Yeah.
Like you hear one of those songs by one of those asshats, and you're like, okay, which one of these little turds is this?
Right. And you know what it reminds me of? It reminds me like back in the day, you'd fill out, like whenever I was in high school, you'd fill out these forms and you would have to check boxes. And like, okay, I have the outlaw guitar, I have the guitar lead, I have the Eagles bass line, you're checking all these boxes that you want for the new song that you're writing.
Okay,
and as soon as you have all this stuff, you're like, boom, great, we've got a song.
It's like Mad Libs, but for songs.
kind of like that.
Music by numbers.
Right. So, oh gosh. So anyway, my story is about Weird Al. When Weird Al prepped his 1999 LP Running with Scissors, he knew that the pop culture story of the summer was going to be the Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. Yeah. What I do for a living is take advantage of pop culture phenomena, and it was no secret that a new Star Wars movie was going to take over the world when it came out, he said. The fact that many people thought the movie absolutely sucked makes the song even funnier, especially when it delves into the intricate details of the boneheaded plot. In as early as early 1998, Weird Al was working on his parody for Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. That's whenever he got the idea to parody Don McLean's American Pie, which was a classic choice. Not classic in the sense of like a classic rock or a classic song, just I can't think of anything else that would fit it better, you know. But that's right about the time that he contacted Don McLean to ask his permission to use it as the framework. Al says Don couldn't have been a nicer guy. Apparently, Don's kids are fans of Weird Al's.
Nice.
And after Running with Scissors album came out, he heard the saga begins around the house so much that he started screwing up the words of American Pie when he sang it on his own concert.
I have heard that before. I had heard that before. That's hilarious.
Now, I haven't seen any video of it, and everything that I've every time I read that, it was always like Weird Al said, you know, so Don McLean never did say it, or at least that I never did say it. Okay. But I would, God, I would pay money to get a glimpse of that video. I think it would definitely be a character build. It wouldn't be embarrassing or anything.
No. And I feel like Don McLean's probably the type of guy who would actually laugh at it, even if he did that live.
Yeah. He'd so make laugh. I mean, I've never met him. I don't know anything about him, but other than what I've read. But he just strikes me as that type of guy.
Yeah, no doubt.
Most of Al's fans had no knowledge of McLean's song from 1971, but the year after the saga begins was released, Madonna did a dance cover of American Pie.
God.
Many listeners wondered why Madonna was remixing a Weird Al song.
Seriously, are people that stupid? I mean, God.
Well, I mean, they're young. They don't know.
Okay, so I was 15. It means when that's how old I was when that song came out, and I knew right away. Okay, this is American Pie. Yeah.
Right, but I mean, there was you were probably into music a little bit more than the average kid.
I guess that's true. Good point.
But I mean, I look back. I bet. Okay, I'm going to jump out on.
You also have to know Weird Al obviously mostly does parodies, so I feel like you should at least take the responsibility to. I mean, maybe I'm just taken for granted.
Well, I was going to say I'm going to jump out on a limb right here. I'm going to guesstimate that you were probably more into music whenever you were 15 than I am now.
That could be.
You know, and that's a good. I'm not. You know, I ain't no carpenter. I can't do the math, but that's a lot of years ago. So the song is exceptionally long, but that's part of the joke. American Pie was one of the longest hit songs ever recorded, running 8 minutes and 33 seconds.
Some friends and I got drunk one time and did karaoke to that and annoyed the bejesus out of everyone. Yeah. And we chose it just because we knew it was long as hell.
One thing that, whenever I was driving limousine and I was just starting out, you had the bachelor parties and the bachelorette parties.
Right. Oh, God.
And the one thing I hated, and I try not to use the H word too much, but the one thing I absolutely hated was whenever they wanted to go to a karaoke bar, because there were two songs that were always going to be played, and that was American Pie and Freebird.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever heard anyone do Freebird live.
Yeah, I've seen it quite a bit. But, I mean, there's a lot of instrumental part of, and they usually fade out of that.
Because, like, the singing part is not that long, really. I think the vocals only last until
2 minutes.
Okay.
2 minutes, 11 seconds, something like that.
Okay, yeah, because the song itself, I think, is like 17 minutes long.
Yeah, something ridiculous. But, and they fade out, after the vocals. They'll fade out like 30 seconds after or something like that. But still, man, I mean, I'm thinking two of the longest songs that I could possibly think of, and they're singing.
Now, what I used to always see people sing a lot, because I did karaoke a lot.
Right.
And the songs I would always see people do, that damn Carrie Underwood song,
Jesus Take the Wheel?
No. Before He Cheats or whatever. That stupid song. And there would always be some couple doing either Love Shack or Picture by by.
Oh yeah, those are
And with Love Shack, inevitably one person does not know the song at all,
right.
And there was this.
They're reading it for the first time on the screen,
and I'm like, how the hell have you survived for the last 30 years and not heard this song? And oh my God, there was this one place I used to go a lot here in Evansville, and the lady, I saw this guy and girl do it like 3 or 4 times, and she still didn't know the damn song.
Wow.
And the Love Shack is a little old place where I can't even do how bad she, I literally can't force myself to sing it as badly as she did.
How has she gone through the last 4 or 5 marriages that she's failed at without knowing that song?
And judging by her lack of teeth, that probably is an accurate
You are
statement.
just something else. Yeah, see what you did there? But yeah, man, the karaoke thing just burns my ass, man. Oh gosh. And then I got cousins of mine that, I don't like bars in the first place.
Right.
But I'll go to a restaurant with a bar in a heartbeat, but just catch my fat ass at a bar, I ain't gonna happen. But I got cousins of mine. They're like, it would be fun if we go out and we'll go to this karaoke bar. I'm like, well, you can stop right there. I'll drive you. I'll pick you up, but I ain't hanging. So. Anyway, also George Lucas gave his official okie dokie for the song, but it was a nerve-wracking process for Al, as he already had the song in the can, the tour scheduled, and the album release date set. It wasn't that big of a stretch, as George really liked Al's previous Star Wars parody, Yoda.
Yep.
Yoda was freaking awesome.
Great song.
I want to say, I think I like it a little bit better than
Lola. Really?
No, than this one. The Saga Begins.
Oh yeah, no doubt. I definitely like it a lot better than the Saga Begins.
Maybe it's just for nostalgia purposes. I don't know.
Could be.
However, as friendly as they are with Weird Al, Lucasfilm politely declined Weird Al a look at the script or an early pre-screening due to the high secrecy of the film.
Oh, okay.
I want to say
the plot thickens.
Yeah, and from the tone of what I read, even though it's called Lucasfilms,
right?
I want to say that decision was not made by him.
Not made by George Lucas?
Right.
That would make sense. I mean, it might have been like the board of directors
or
whatever.
Yeah.
And because this, too, was before he sold the company to Disney.
Yeah. But, I mean, I could be wrong. I'm just really reading off the tone of what I was reading. George Lucas was okay with this and happy to get the Weird Al treatment, as it built anticipation for the film.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, that's free marketing right there.
Yeah, no doubt. Absolutely. It's marketing on someone else's dime.
Oh, absolutely,
the record company.
Yankovic considered using the music of a current pop tune for the Saga Begins, his takeoff on the blockbuster film about the spacefaring exploits of Jedi Knights. He says that he tossed around the idea of doing something such as Pretty Fly for a Jedi.
Yeah.
And the tune of Offspring's Pretty Fly for a White Guy.
Which he ended up doing as Pretty Fly for a Rabbi.
Yeah.
Which was
but he changed his mind, choosing the melody arrangement for American Pie. He got a little help with the beginning. American Pie also begins with "A Long, Long Time Ago," a Star Wars famous opening line.
Right.
Rather than letting the Offspring idea go to waste, however, he came up Pretty Fly for a Rabbi, which appears along the Saga Begins on the Running with Scissors album. Admittedly, Al tries to have the lead-off single from his albums be a parody of some major pop culture event, and since he had the sneaking suspicion that people just might be interested in a new Star Wars movie, he decided to plan the release of the album around the release of the Phantom Menace and cross his fingers.
Yeah, I remember we went and saw Phantom Menace for my birthday in '99. Yeah, that was.
Was it really like a dumpster fire of a movie?
At the time, I couldn't judge it as objectively, just because I was like, "Ooh, new Star Wars movie." Right. In retrospect, in my opinion, all but the third movie are pretty much garbage.
Which one's the third movie?
Return of the Sith.
Okay.
So that's episode 3. Episode 1 which Phantom Menace is pretty terrible objectively. Episode 2, the only highlight of it, and to some people hated it, but I thought it was great. Yoda fights Christopher Lee, because Christopher Lee is a Sith Lord. And and they have this fight that is just epic as hell, because Yoda, is this little decrepit dude, and he busts out. First of all, I'm going to nerd really hard for just a second. A Sith Lord technique is being able to shoot lightning out of your hands.
Right.
Like it's like controlling the Force in that way. It's what Emperor Palpatine does to Luke at the end of Return of the Jedi.
Okay.
And not only does Yoda know the Force well enough to be able to counter it, he just like puts up his hand and catches the lightning, and then he throws it back at Dooku again. So like, oh shit, Yoda's going ham here. And then he busts out his lightsaber and just starts like flipping around like crazy, just flying around everywhere. And I'm just like, oh my god, I was in my late teens, I think, when that came out.
Did you get your geek wood?
Oh, dude, big time. Then the third movie wasn't as bad, but man, the guy who plays Anakin in the second and third movies, because the first movie he's a little kid, so it's a little kid playing him. Second and third movie they get a grown actor to play him because he's much older at this point. That dude cannot act for shit. Dude, I am a better actor than him. I've seen better acting in high school productions than
Maybe
this
they had
dude.
him around for tax purposes.
I don't know. This guy is terrible because you got some big names in the movie. You got Natalie Portman, you got Christopher Lee, you've got I can't think of Obi-Wan's name. Ewan McGregor.
Yeah.
In the first movie, you have Liam Neeson plays Qui-Gon Jinn. So you got these big names, and you just get this nobody to play Anakin. And not only that, but this nobody who can't act for shit.
Right.
And he's just a whiny
Has he ever been in anything
bitch.
else after that?
Yeah, some other shitty movie. Jumper. Yeah. He was in that movie. And I think Sam Jackson was in that movie too with him as well. But obviously Sam Jackson is in the prequels as well.
Sam could be in anything. That's a bad dude.
Which he specifically told George Lucas, my lightsaber is going to be purple.
Shut up! Really?
Because like traditionally, the Sith use red lightsabers and Jedi use green or blue lightsabers. He's like, nope, I'm the only person to have a purple lightsaber.
And he really is.
Yeah, he really is. He's the only person in any of the now 7 or I guess 8, if you also include Rogue One, movies to have a purple lightsaber.
I'll be down.
Yeah. So anyway, sorry,
way
off topic.
But who else could stuff 3 acts of song into 5 minutes and 29 seconds? On theforce.net, Weird Al said the song was entirely based on internet rumors. He gathered all the leaked info he could about the movie from all the various Star Wars websites.
And there was a lot of it.
Yeah. And was able to piece together the basic plot for the movie. Al had planned to release Running with Scissors album the month after the Phantom Menace came out, but because the lead time involved in recording, mixing, pressing, and physically getting an album out in the stores, he had to write The Saga Begins about 2 months before the movie came out. The folks at Lucasfilms have always been very kind towards him, but they politely declined the request for an advanced screening or a peek at the script. But Weird Al made do, spending long hours scrounging the internet to find tidbits on the movie's plot. Thankfully, the storyline, according to the internet, followed the film storyline pretty accurately. The internet being what it is, I was basically able to figure out 98% of the plot line before the movie came out, he said. Just for safety's sake, they did not do the final mix on The Saga Begins until after Al had seen the movie.
That's interesting.
I think I changed 3 or 4 lines once I actually saw the movie, but the song was recorded by the time it came out, by the time the movie came out.
Interesting.
It helped that the 4-verse structure of American Pie dovetailed with Yankovic's satirical summary of the story. Al paid to go to the $500 a ticket charity screening so he could see the film a couple of days before the rest of the world in the theaters.
Wow.
Yankovic, who received permission from McLean to use the tune in January, said the accompanying video is modeled after an MTV Unplugged. A look chosen after his request to use the footage from The Phantom Menace was turned down. Al said it was kind of my version of Star Wars Unplugged.
I don't really remember the video a whole lot other than I think at the end of it, it's him dressed up in a Jedi robe and there's a bunch of people dressed in Jedi robes
it's
as
him.
well.
They cloned him.
Oh, is that what it is?
Yeah, that
Gotcha.
was I get into it, but that was one of the things that was a reference to the clones.
Yeah, right. Which those wouldn't come into play really until the second movie.
Right.
But whatever.
Yankovic had appeared in promotional spots for MTV, which also borrowed from the style of Unplugged. The video was filmed on a soundstage in L.A. for the bar scene. There was really only 2 scenes. It was out in the desert.
Yeah, that's what
and then there was in the bar.
Like the Mos Eisley bar?
I got the name of it in here.
Okay.
And the desert scene showing Weird Al dressed as Obi-Wan Kenobi was filmed in the Mojave Desert in Baker, California.
Gotcha.
Al and the band performed the song in a makeshift Tatooine bar. That's what it is, Tatooine
Well,
bar.
Tatooine is the planet. Mos Eisley is the bar.
Oh, okay. Why would I ever doubt that? Why would I ever question it? A Tatooine bar with an enthusiastic audience made up of friends, relatives, and minimally paid extras who had decked out in Star Wars-inspired makeup and wardrobe.
Nice.
There was actually people that were, I don't know if they were like the president of fan clubs, but they belonged to fan clubs.
Gotcha.
And he knew it's like Star Wars fan clubs.
Right.
So he was like, hey, bro.
Well, yeah, and clearly he would have pull with them, again, just due to A, being nerdy as hell, and B, already having written a Star
weird
Wars
freaking
song.
Al.
Exactly,
Yeah,
exactly.
he's got juice. Hell
Exactly.
yeah. The woman who played Queen Padme Amidala is Al's cousin Tammy.
Oh, in the video.
In the video.
Okay,
Yeah,
gotcha.
yeah.
I was going to say, because Padme is played by Natalie Portman. In the
Right,
movie, so,
yeah.
Okay, that makes sense.
The other shoot day was pretty miserable. Oh, the first one was, like I said, it was the LA soundstage.
Okay.
They literally shot the thing in 2 days. The
Gotcha.
video. The other shoot day was pretty miserable. They were in the middle of the Mojave Desert. It was something like 110 degrees in the shade. They literally had crew people passing out.
Oh, I bet. Well, and plus, I mean, he's in big robes and shit. Well, I guess that was just Al himself.
Yeah,
but
the
still.
crew was, yeah.
Brutal.
Lucas Star Wars website has plugged the song, the biggest seal of approval I think you could possibly get in this particular situation.
And you know, something else that lends itself to him being able to write this before the movie came out. It is a prequel, so you already kind of know what's going to happen. You know what I mean?
Because those books were already written, right?
Well, it was just the fact that, you know, the original trilogy is episodes 4, 5, and 6. You know that Anakin is the name of Darth Vader, or, you know, Anakin Skywalker was Darth Vader's real name.
Right.
So you know that this little kid, Anakin Skywalker, is going to become Darth Vader. So that was pretty easy.
Yeah, so
for
it
him
had
to write
spoils before. Yeah, wow,
Yeah.
you spoiled your own movie.
That's
yeah.
well, and that's just the nature
Kinda,
of
sorta.
prequels. You already know, you know point B, or you know point C, and you know point A, and then the prequel or prequels are points B, and you know,
Yeah.
kind of leading up to the end
I
point
guess
there.
it's complicated science, isn't
So
it?
yeah.
So that's the story. A couple of things that I found out that was pretty interesting is reportedly Madonna and an unnamed friend made history while talking one day. Madonna wondered aloud when Weird Al would turn like a virgin into like a surgeon. The friend was a mutual friend of Yankovic's manager, Jay Levy. Levy told Yankovic, and soon it became the first single and video from the Dare to Be Stupid album.
Yep.
It was the first and last time a musician successfully offered a suggestion to Yankovic, who openly discourages people from giving him parody ideas.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh? I didn't know he did that.
And you know what's kind of cool is that, you know, I can't. Another person I've never met is Madonna, but
I know a lady who was her personal maid when she was in town. Filming League of Their Own.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I forgot about that. She was actually here in town. Her and Rosie O'Donnell.
Yeah,
but I can't say that there's like a plethora of nice things that are ever said about Madonna, but
no.
That's how come I was really anxious to put this in there, because it kind of made her sound like a real person. Of course, that was back in the day when she was a normal person.
Well. So to balance that out, the lady that I
Leave it
know,
to John to bring in the negative.
who was the the lady who I know who you know, like cleaned her house and everything. She said she was as nice to her as possible.
Oh, really?
She said Madonna was incredibly nice to her. She even gave her some of her jewelry.
I'll be damned.
And, I mean, she was super nice.
You know, and I hear there's people that I've met since I've been in town that, you know, they had something to do with the production of that movie or whatever.
Yeah.
And I haven't heard too many people say too many good things about her.
Really?
That
Okay.
She absolutely hated it here.
Yes. Now that part is true.
Yeah.
And for instance, when they were in town filming, her birthday happened during that time. She flew to Vegas for her birthday.
Oh, wow, no kidding.
And then flew right back. So yeah, that part is true. But yeah, like I said, I will for once be the voice of positivity I will break my long-running streak of being the asshole and say Madonna was very nice to my dear friend Louise. So that's awesome.
Cool. That's cool. See, it's nice to see you come out of the dark.
It happens occasionally.
Right. After the commercial failure of 1989's UHF, despite its Neverland Ranch popularity, Yankovic returned to the recording studio in June 1990 to record original songs for a new album. When it came time to record parodies, he ran into a problem. There was nothing good to make fun of. After getting turned down by Michael Jackson with Black and White, which Michael was a huge fan of Weird Al, but he did not want that one parodied because it had a message to it.
Exactly.
And I get that.
Because he had already parodied at least 2 Michael Jackson songs that I know of.
Yeah, Fat and
Beat It, which we made to Eat It.
Yeah, yeah.
So.
Al was open to discover Nirvana's Smells Like Teen Spirit, which Yankovic changed to Smells Like Nirvana. Genius. Love that.
Hey, we were just talking about this last week.
Yeah, actually, yeah. The song made fun of the fact that it was nearly impossible to understand Nirvana Nirvana's singer Kurt Cobain's words. The Nirvana album, Nevermind, and its instantly iconic cover of the baby chasing a dollar bill underwater gave Al the concept for this album, which he titled Off the Deep End.
Yeah, that's what it was called.
Alluding to the cover art of Yankovic swimming after a donut fish hook. That's genius. I love that guy. In the Smells Like Nirvana music video, Al even used the same janitor in the Smells Like Teen Spirit video, as well as some of the cheerleaders. Mm-hmm. That was funny. God, that's classic, man.
I do remember that.
But last one I got. Oh no, Chameleonaire couldn't be a rapper when Weird Al parodied his writing, claiming that it gave the song a mega record status. I'm sorry, Chameleonaire couldn't be happier when Weird Al parodied. I don't
know, man. I agree. Chameleonaire is not much of a rapper. They're back from activity. Yeah, shit talking.
Bringing it down. Claiming that it gave the song mega record status and credited it for giving him the 2007 Grammy for Best Rap Performance by a Duo or Group.
Oh, God, that song won a Grammy. Jesus Christ.
The White and Nerdy video has amassed over 86 million views on YouTube, and that was as of a couple of years ago.
Wait, is that the... Are you saying the Weird Al song won a Grammy?
Yeah.
Oh, never mind. Okay.
Yeah.
I thought you were saying Riding Dirty.
No. White and Nerdy.
Did that really win a Grammy? Jesus.
No, it may have. I didn't check it out, though.
That song is just...
the White and Nerdy video amassed over 86 million views on YouTube as of this writing, and I want to say that was like a couple of years ago.
Oh, no, that was like almost 10 years ago.
Oh, is that?
Yeah. Well, 2007. Oh, shit. I'm sorry. You're saying...
from the writing of this. Yeah. So the features Keegan-Michael Key and Jordan Peele years before their popular Comedy Central show Key and Peele went on the air.
Right. They'd been on Mad TV already by that point, and that's how he knew them. From Mad TV.
It was and currently is Yankovic's only Billboard Top 100 hit to make the top 10, peaking at number 9 on the chart in the United States. That's something.
Amish Paradise didn't go that high even. Huh. I wasn't sure.
Oh, it didn't?
I guess not.
Oh, at least according to this.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Last one I got is Weird Al Yankovic made fun of the whole backward message thing, which we were just... Didn't we do an episode on backmasking?
I know we've talked about it at least a little bit. I don't think we did a whole episode or a whole segment on it, but I know we've talked about it.
I can't believe that I didn't run across this whenever... But anyway, maybe we just didn't research it. I don't know. Weird Al made fun of the whole backward message thing, as he does, with his own backward message on his 1996 song... I Remember Larry.
Yep.
He can be heard saying, "Wow, you must have an awful lot of free time on your hands."
No, I think we did talk about that one specifically in an episode.
Oh, like did we?
Yeah, I think so. I don't remember what it was. I don't remember which episode it was or anything, but yeah, I remember us talking about that. There's been a lot of artists who have done tongue-in-cheek, smart-ass, backwards masking stuff like that. Like Sage Francis had a song that he did that on, and it was a little girl talking in reverse, or it was backmasked. A little girl talking, and I forget what she says, but she says something because you expect something to be sinister or whatever,
right? And
she's like, I forget what it is. I won't do anything bad. I won't say bad things, and then she just starts cussing.
Oh, shut up! Is that right?
It's really funny, but yeah, whatever.
Shit. So anyway, that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. We're going to take a quick break, and John's going to be right back with us.
All right.
Hey friends, this is Mary from the Mary Movement Podcast. We tell true stories that will inspire, encourage, and warm your heart. So join the movement at themerrymovement.com.
All right, and we're back. So, yeah, again, I apologize for that Star Wars rant there in that last segment. I
has a rare undiagnosed form of Tourette's that sometimes we have issues with.
I definitely could have gone on much longer about that, but I figured that was enough where it was.
It wasn't negative.
No.
It wasn't Luke Aldine.
I just loves me talking about some Star Wars, man.
You know, man, you're going to have to come up with like a Star Wars version of Luke Aldine.
There is a subreddit called Prequel Memes. That is absolutely hilarious. Actually, it's really funny. Check it out sometime. Well, have you seen any Star Wars movies?
Oh yeah, I saw the original.
Right.
Just give me some names.
Okay, so you've seen the original trilogy, all three of the original trilogy.
I think those are the ones that I've seen.
A New Hope, Empire Strikes Back, Return of the Jedi.
The New Hope, that was the
that was
original?
the first one. Yeah.
Okay, then I've seen those three. Those are the only ones that I've seen.
Because the other the three prequels are Phantom Menace, Attack of the Clones, and Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah, never seen any of those.
And then they have a sequel to the original trilogy now, Episode 7, that came out 2 years ago, and that's The Force Awakens.
Okay.
And then they just came out with I don't even know what you call it. It takes place before A New Hope, but also after Revenge of the Sith. So it takes place in between episodes 3 and 4. Mm-hmm. It was called Rogue One. And I just watched that pretty recently. It wasn't too bad. Force Awakens was really good. And then there's a new one coming out this winter. I think it's around Christmas time, I'm assuming, called The Last Jedi. Mm-hmm. And so, looking forward to that one. The guy who directed it is the same guy who directed a really good movie with Ryan Gosling and who else was in that movie? I know Christina Hendricks was in it. She had a really small role, and I don't remember who else. The guy's name is Ryan Johnson, phenomenal director. Mm-hmm. He directed Drive, which is the movie I was talking about with Ryan Gosling. Mm-hmm. And he, I think he'll do a good job with the subject matter. So
I remember I was in elementary school whenever the first Star Wars came out, mm-hmm. and it was just a monster.
Oh yeah,
nobody's ever seen anything like that.
Right.
Jaws was big. I can't remember if that came out before.
So A New Hope, the first Star Wars movie, came out in 1977.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think Jaws came out after that, but I could be wrong. Wrong. It was around the same time. It was pretty close.
But nobody. At least in my memory, there was nothing that hit society from a movie mm-hmm. as big as that before.
Gotcha.
I'm sure that there was Charlie Chaplin and some Laurel and Hardy stuff like that. But that damn thing, man, that was huge whenever it hit. And my brother-in-law Tom took me to it, and he couldn't stand me. Well, he probably don't stand me now, but anyway, he took me to. He just out of the blue, hey man, going to see Star Wars, right? You want to go? I was like, hell yeah! And he was ahead. I mean, to this day, I still think he's ahead on it, and mm-hmm. I know he collected cards. I can't remember if he got like figures, but I'm sure he hasn't kept up with it. He's right. I don't know, probably 90, 190, something like that now. So, but yeah, he was ahead on it. But anyway, This is your time, man.
No. I appreciate it. I'm always curious. Strangely enough, I've never really asked anybody who was alive during that time period what they remember it being like. I've always wondered, hey, I knew a movie was hyped up as hell even before it came out because there were huge lines even when it was released.
Well, using terms that are common now that we didn't have back in the day, mm-hmm. That was probably the biggest marketing push I've ever seen in my life.
Really?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, there was nothing that came close. Like I said, Jaws was big.
Yeah.
But that was the only thing. And of course, back in the day, whenever we had those little shitty Halloween, with the rubber band on the back of the mask.
Right.
Some knucklehead would always come up and pop your rubber band.
Oh yeah. And we had those when I was a kid. Even hell.
Oh, so. You did?
Oh yeah.
So, what are you like? 14, 15? How old are you now?
I'm 33.
Oh, okay, yeah. So, I guess you might remember. But yeah, had essentially the costumes back then. It was like you remember those the red and white plaid table covers.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like they took that shit and they like put on some design of whoever it is, because it just looked like they just poked a hole through it for your head, and it just draped on you, and then they put that little shitty plastic mask on your face with the rubber band on it, and it always fell off like 7.5 minutes after you got on your head with those shitty little staples on the side, you know.
Yep. Oh yeah.
But anyway, they had Star Wars everything, and like a lot of people, they look back now as like New Kids on the Block. That was the beginning of a new era as far as marketing, and they had the action figures and all. Not to me, man. Star Wars was the biggest, and there may have been one before that.
Right.
But to me, Star Wars was probably the first, and I never was into it. Although I'll tell you, it was. There's not a whole lot of things that I've ever really quote unquote been into, you know. But and I never was really into Star Wars. I respected it. I liked it. I knew I could definitely see why somebody would get into that.
Yeah,
just wasn't my gig.
I got you.
But to go to that movie, that was you're not watching a movie. You're part of an event.
Yeah,
you know?
True.
And
very true.
That was neat, and that's kind of the way that I felt. There again, I'm using terms now that I didn't know then, but
right.
You know, whenever we went to see the movie, we didn't wait in line for like blocks and hours and shit like that. You know, we just walked in, got a damn ticket, and it was in Virginia Beach. But I remember distinctly like, wow, this is bigger than just a movie.
Right.
You know, this is an event. And that place was packed, man. It was just nut to butt of nothing but people, man. And they were turning people back. Like they had people at both doors that they were like, no, if you don't have a ticket for this showing, you cannot come in. Because there would be people that they'd buy the ticket and then they'd go into the lobby, buy popcorn or whatever, and then they'd sneak into the newer showing.
Yeah.
And but that was back in the day. Now you can't do that either. But
I've done that before.
Yeah, it's part of a.
No, I mean I've bought a ticket for one movie and then stayed around and watched another movie.
Oh yeah. But yeah, it was really something. It was part of an event. It was bigger than the movie itself, and I look back on it now and I look at it as kind of like healthy marketing. Like I do marketing for Smarts, and I do marketing for the podcast, and I've done stuff in the past for, you know, driving limos and whatever, you know, but, you know, I always kind of harken back to like that day because that was healthy marketing. You know, it wasn't like a money grab.
Right.
It was truly, they're trying to get the word out. They really want to get as many people there as possible. It wasn't like get as many people there as possible, buy the ticket. Oh, by the way, look at this 137 action figures that you can buy between here and the door to the theater. You know, It wasn't like, look at this, you know, this cup that cost us 9 cents to make that you're going to pay $32 for.
Right.
You know, it's going to fall apart before you get it to the car. You know.
See, I kind of feel like when I was a very young teenager, actually before I was a teenager even, they re-released the original trilogy as the special editions, which is where George Lucas added in some extra stuff that he wasn't able to do originally. Like, so when I was 12 is when they re-released A New Hope as the special edition, and a buddy of mine and I went and saw it on opening night. And they released one every year leading up to Phantom Menace.
Oh, right.
In 99, because the first one came out in 96, and then 97, 98, and then Phantom Menace in 99. And that one, looking back on it, I am like, yeah, that was a cash grab. The special editions, they very much were. Because just a few years before that, actually just like 1 or 2 years before that, they put out the remastered editions on VHS, because DVD wasn't a thing at that time. Right. And that's how I learned about Star Wars, was watching the remastered VHS tapes just a year or two before the special edition came out. Right. So it's like, looking back on it, I'm like, man, those cheap bastards, you know, they re-release it, and then they re-release it again. Right. And then they come out with the new one.
Well, they come out with a box set, and then they come out with another movie after that, and it's like, oh, we got the new box set.
Exactly,
now,
exactly.
Yeah, it's such a...
To this day, I have not seen the special edition of Empire or Jedi. I've only seen the special edition of A New Hope, Episode 4.
You know, on a totally separate subject, I saw a picture one time that it was George Lucas, and he was sitting in a Starbucks knitting.
Yeah. What?
Yeah, did you ever see that?
No.
He was just sitting at the table, just knitting.
What the hell?
Yeah. And at the time, I think, I don't know when the picture was taken, but I mean, I'm guessing probably in the past 5 years, you know. But I mean, it was pretty shitty quality, but I mean, it was pretty painfully obvious that it was him, you know. He's just sitting at the table, just chilling, just knitting. knitting something. I don't know what he was knitting. And I'm thinking, this dude, he's got his own, well, I don't know about now, but a couple of years ago, he used to have his own ranch, I guess you'd call it.
Yeah, Skywalker Ranch.
Yeah. And, he did a lot of, I guess, all of his Star Wars stuff was there, like Lucasfilms was there and all that kind of stuff, and at the time, he was the baller, man. I mean, he had... If you needed money, don't go to a bank. You go to George Lucas.
Well, he has more money now because I want to say he got like $1 billion, literally $1 billion from Disney for selling them Star Wars.
Oh, and that's probably just that. That's not saying that there's onward, every time he'll probably get some kind of juice or something.
Yeah, I'm
every
sure he
time
gets
they come
some
out.
royalties of some sort.
Yeah.
And I think they still consult him.
I was just starting to say he's got to be a consultant. This is his baby.
Yeah. Although they needed to take it away from him after the prequels because it turned into very much like an Elvis-like situation where he had yes men around him.
He was becoming a caricature of his own self.
It's like, no, dude. Someone should have smacked your hand and said, "Don't do that."
Yeah, Misa thinks you need to stop.
Thank God he took Jar Jar out of.
Dude, that was my favorite. I never saw that movie, but I really liked the character. Now, honestly, if I saw the movie, I would probably not be feeling that way.
He is just the worst. He's terrible. I hate him. But yeah, he did. That was a case where I think he did actually listen to fan feedback, and that's why Jar Jar is. I think he's in the second movie for maybe 3 minutes, and I don't think if I remember right, I don't think he's in the third movie at all.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, I don't think he's in it one bit because oh my God, he got so annoying in that first movie. So yeah. Anywho, sorry.
But welcome back to the music podcast, everybody. This is Tall Tales of Music Mythology.
My apology for ranting about Star Wars in the last segment turned into us ranting about Star Wars in the second segment as well, so I fail massively. I have brought great shame and disappointment unto my family.
I question your heredity, sir.
So, anywho, Everclear. See how I smoothly segue into this segment.
Speaking of smooth segues.
Whoa! So, this very much is a band that, when you think of them, you immediately think of the 90s, or at least in my opinion, and I think most people's opinions, you hear Everclear and you think of the 90s. So, either that or bad experiences with alcohol poisoning. So,
Potato.
And actually, the singer, Art Alexakis, has in the last couple of years, I think he did it from 2011 to 2016. I don't think he did one this year. Put together a package tour, like a 90s nostalgia package tour called Summerland, which is named after a song off of the album that had Santa Monica on it, Sparkle and Fade. And there's been different bands tour with them each year. Sugar Ray and the Toadies, American Hi-Fi, Live. I can't think of who else, but so yeah, again, Everclear very much embodies a lot of 90s rock to me at least, and 90s music. A lot of people's opinions on it can be pretty divided. Some, like myself, viewed as one of the last times where artists were actually allowed to be brutally honest and open about themselves and show that they had troubles just like anyone else, which was kind of a welcome juxtaposition to the glitz, glam, and godlike posturing of the artists of the 80s.
Right.
Others, however, see it as a bunch of untalented whiners venting their teenage/young adult angst. I can understand both perspectives, and it's kind of one of those things where I think a lot of people are going to defend the music from whatever era they came of age in.
Sure.
And that's really the only reasonable explanation why anyone likes hair metal.
And if by somebody you mean Randy Roswell.
No, I mean,
I agree with what you're saying, but I think it's I think that people will defend the music that they grew up on and earlier.
That yeah, and part of that is, this is interesting too, and I see this brought up every now and then. I completely agree. We often have very rose-tinted glasses when looking at the past because of the fact that what we hear on like classic rock radio is really just the best of, well, for the most part, of the music from that era, and all the shit gets filtered out. Like, that's why when you listen to classic rock radio, you'll hear stuff from the 70s like Led Zeppelin and Pink Floyd, and not Disco Duck. So,
boy, you painted that picture, brother.
You know what I mean. So it's kind of one of those things, you know.
You know, man, I remember this.
There's always bad music in any era.
I remember a day distinctly in my mind that this was the day that I knew that I was getting old. And I don't remember how old I was, but it started with a 4.
Okay.
And I was in Virginia Beach, and I was in an elevator, and on Muzak, I heard Ozzy Osbourne. And I go, well, let me find out where they sell canes, you know.
Shit.
Oh, God.
That's funny. What song was it? Do you remember?
I think it was Mr. Crowley.
Really?
Yeah, I think I could be wrong, but I remember it was Ozzy.
That's
and
weird.
Yeah, and it was on Muzak, and I was thinking,
that's a strange one. I would have figured like Crazy Train. I could see that getting made into.
Yeah, I've
Muzak.
heard that one since then.
Okay.
But you know, I was thinking at that
That's
moment, I was thinking, very first thing that crossed my mind was, you know, if I would have video and audio recorded that moment in that elevator,
yeah,
and time warped back to the 80s, nobody would ever believe me. They would think it's some high production, you know, and first of all, they think I'd be some kind of black magician because I'm showing them this little thing, you know, the size of a deck of cards, showing them this video.
My hand computer.
Yeah, you from Star Trek? Anyway, go ahead.
But no, that's hilarious. Yeah, I do though think that that's a lot of reason why people defend new music from each era like that. Like you know, it just gets distilled down to the best of it when you're hearing the quote classics from that era. But I, trying to be as objective about it as I can, I personally view the 90s and especially maybe there's a cutoff point kind of around the mid-late 90s where I think that was kind of possibly the last time artistic integrity was really allowed to flourish alongside commercial success. Well, you know, and I've talked about this a little bit in the past with how a lot of early aughts bands like Nickelback, Creed, Coldplay, Three Doors Down, and too many others to mention began just churning out sound-alikes of their big hits. And
we've talked about that.
Yeah, and that's largely due to pressure from their labels. I don't totally blame the bands for that. I mean, record labels have always been putting pressure on bands to churn out hits. Like I've seen footage of the Eagles talking about that, even how their labels were pressuring them so much. Like, you got to write us one hit every week. Mm-hmm. I forget who. It might have been Don Henley. I don't remember. Somebody was saying that, and that was kind of one of my first instances where like, oh, that's really shitty of the label to do that to an artist. You know what I mean?
I remember in the 90s, Henry Lee Summer from Brazil, Indiana,
Mm-hmm.
he had I Wish I Had a Girl, mm-hmm. and his label told him that, okay, this is working. This one works. We know this works. I need more like this. And he's a phenomenal musician.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Gives one of the best shows I've ever seen. Mm-hmm. I hated his guts back then because I married his ex-girlfriend.
That's right. I forgot you told me that.
But after I divorced her, loved him. You know, but anyway, his label told him that, you need to do more like this because obviously this works. And he came out with another one, Hands on the Radio, another phenomenal song that I love, and had a chorus behind it. Yeah. You know, and really, really excellent, at least in my, you know, uninitiated ears, I like it. And then he just never found it after that. There was other external reasons. But
I do remember one other song he had in the late 90s or early 2000s that maybe it was just the radio station in Kokomo played a lot, because that guy kind of, I mean, there was a radio station it was originally called Z93 and then changed its name to Z92.5 later, and the morning host, Alan James, pretty much ran the station. I mean, they let him do whatever he wanted because he had a very highly rated morning show, and he would play the shit out of that song. Can't think of what the song was called. Yeah,
I Wish I Had a Girl and Hands on the Radio.
No, this was not either one of those two songs. Something about I'm the Crazy One You Need. I just remember that lyric.
Yeah.
So Alan James would play that song all the time. But again, that's a little bit different because at that time, radio stations had more freedom, which I get to here as well because, you know, as much as we may mention the record labels pressuring the bands to churn out the hits, realistically, the radio stations were about as much to blame for that as well. So this, I think I changed my synopsis from what I originally wrote down, but I originally wrote that this song was a mid-90s hit for Everclear, because it technically didn't have a release date, at least not in the U.S., because despite it being arguably, or in my mind, and I'm sure many others, definitely the biggest hit from their second album, Sparkle and Fade, it was never released as an official single in the States.
Really?
Yeah. Luckily, though, this was, as I mentioned, the era where radio stations and their DJs still had some freedom in what they played, so the song was still able to get airplay, despite not having official backing. This was, obviously, shortly before Clear Channel took over radio and, frankly, completely ruined it. Which I know
work for them.
Yeah, and we've talked about this before. I don't know if we've talked about it actually on an episode, but we personally have talked about how I noticed. I remember when I was in high school, I was driving with my mom to some baseball tournament in St. Louis, I think it was, and so we were crossing time zones from northern Indiana, going into St. Louis there, and so there was a radio station called X103 out of Indy that was an alternative rock radio station, and I remember there was this particular sequence of songs, and I don't remember what songs they were. I think Incubus was in there because it was the early 2000s, so they would have been big still. There's probably like Linkin Park or something like that, and then we got to another market that had an X station in it too. I was like, oh, hey, another radio station with X in the title. Okay, let's listen to this. And the exact same string of either 5 or 6 songs played.
Shut your
I mean, I'm not just saying like same bands, exact same songs in the exact same sequence.
Right.
And that was when I was kind of like, wait a second, there's something, there's no way that's a coincidence.
Right,
if it was just,
figure the odds.
If I hear the same song, maybe even the same 2 songs back to back, that's one thing, but hearing 5 or 6 songs back to back in the same order on 2 different stations with the same similar call signal.
Right.
There's something wrong there, and that was shortly after Clear Channel was able to go from like 100 radio stations to like 1,000 in just the space of a couple of years.
Right. That was a government thing, right? Didn't they have to get congressional approval or something like that?
And not to play not to play blame the politician here, but George W. Bush actually did have a hand in that. And that's not me talking shit.
I remember that. Oh, shit.
That's just me stating a fact. I'm not making a statement about whether Bush was bad or not, but it was when he was governor of Texas, somebody helped him get taxpayer funding for the new Rangers Stadium, which he either was still a part owner of or he had been at one time. I don't remember the exact timing. And so to kind of, maybe it was, I don't remember the exact situation, but somehow he basically repaid someone who either was the owner or one of the executives of Clear Channel. He paid them back for helping get taxpayer funding for the Texas Rangers Stadium by allowing the FCC to stop regulating how many stations in one market any company could own. Right. And that's why they went from, again, it was just over 100, like 120 stations nationwide to like 1,200. Almost overnight within just the span of a couple of years. And that, honestly, that ruined radio. It really did, because you went from having such diverse. So I mentioned Alan James from Z92.5 earlier. He would play local bands, a lot. I mean, a lot.
I was just starting to say that's one of the great flavors of old radio. Is that you get that regional aspect. I was telling you about. I went to Silver Creek High School in Sellersburg, Indiana, and dude that. I'm not going to say we were friends. I didn't have anything against him, but a guy that I went to school with, his name was Chad. Chad was a phenomenal guitarist, still a phenomenal guitarist. Anyway, he went to a Pat Travers concert. And I remember you said that you never heard of Pat Travers.
Right. Yeah, I hadn't before you told me about that.
Well, I mean, he was a huge name back in the day. My buddy Joe Flanagan, same thing. He would go to concerts. And big thing is you go to the concerts and you come back with the T-shirt. Right. Everybody's like, oh, man, you went to the concert Monday morning, got that crisp shirt on, and but you get that regional taste, and whenever you go to and like the highway systems weren't like they are now. Now, me driving a big truck or bus, to drive to California was like, man, so you drove to California, big deal.
Yeah.
Back in the day, you drove to California, that was a goddamn undertaking.
Yeah, well, no doubt, because you got to bust out a map and plot out a route.
Sure, yeah. So, but
like
whenever
that.
you get to like SoCal, you're listening to their regional favorites and their regional tastes, and then you get to bring that back. And there was just a whole system of doing that was just it was part of the experience. And I miss that, man.
Yeah,
you don't get that no more.
I don't. If I listen to radio, I'm listening to NPR or classic rock.
Yeah,
but even then, there's just nothing really good played on the radio nowadays. And you hear a lot of people say there's no good music nowadays. That's not true. There's
wrong.
still good music.
Sure.
You just got to dig for it.
Yeah.
Because that shit ain't getting played on the radio because, again, with Clear Channel owning all these stations, they play it safe.
Yeah.
They just want whatever's going to sell, whatever's focus group approved and tested. And they don't want to take chances. And that's what makes music so bland for the most part these days. Every now and then, every once in a great while, someone will get a wild hair and take a chance on a band and they'll blow up. And then what happens? You get a million artists who sound just like them.
You know what it reminds me of? And maybe it's just because I'm a fat guy, but it reminds me of Golden Corral. You get this heavily salted, tasteless shit, and you got 1,000 things. You got 1,000 damn things on this buffet, and you got all these hogs coming up to the trough, and boy, they're just going to eat at that shit all day long,
Yes.
But then on Tuesdays, whenever it's rib night, that's rib night is Chris Stapleton, or something like that, or whenever they got like seafood night, that's fill in the blank, whoever the independent person is, that's who's the guy that I love from Chicago? Chance.
Oh, Chance. Yeah,
Chance is seafood night on Friday. You only get a little bit of it, but you only get it on Friday, But yeah, it's just a goddamn Golden Corral. It really is.
Yeah, it's just watered down and lowest common denominator is the best way you can describe it. It's I like to make this comparison a lot because it's very true. The book 1984, George Orwell talked about, there's a scene where the main character, Winston, is walking through like the slums, basically, in the town, and he's walking by where the proletariat, the lower class people live, and he mentions there's this music playing on the radio, and this woman's singing along to it, and Winston is kind of higher up in the party, so he knows a little bit about what goes on behind the scenes. He's like, little did she know that this song she's listening to was actually just made by a computer, and no one sang it or anything like that. It's not anyone actually singing it. It was just computer generated. That was when did 1984 come out? 1943 or something like that? 42, 43. It was in the early mid-40s, and he was so on the money with that prediction. And that's scary how right he was about that. Because that's exactly what you get these days for the most part. It's just
Milli Vanilli.
Yeah, it really is. So anywho, that's it was a fun tangent to go on, but
my buddy, I was telling you earlier, my buddy Marty Lyon, he's the bus driver for Everclear. And check him out on my Facebook page.
Okay.
He doesn't drive for them 100% whenever, because they don't go out 100%. But
no,
he drives for shit I've never heard of before.
Because Art Alexakis, when I was looking this up, he was born in '62. So he's getting up there for a rock star. He's getting up there in age.
Yeah, he's 55 right now.
Yeah.
But yeah, Marty said that he's just he is. He's a cool dude. He's just easy to get along with. But the whole band is him.
Yeah.
He owns 100% of everything.
Yeah.
And Marty will drive him up to his house. Like he'll get the hell off my bus and then do your front door.
I've heard he's a nice guy because I can remember in the late 90s, early 2000s, he helped save so X103, the alternative rock station I mentioned out of Indianapolis, they had, I don't know if they still do it or not, but every year they had a big concert called X Fest, and they would invite lots of big names. I mean, they got big current names to come and play, and one year Hole was supposed to play, and Courtney Love's crazy ass flaked out on it for some reason. I think it might have been due to the fact that, maybe I'm being unfair saying that to her, because this might have been the time where
she was sane.
No, her band was on tour with Marilyn Manson at one point, and she dropped them off the tour because they were all, Courtney Love and her band, they were all recovering addicts, and so she dropped off of the Marilyn Manson tour because they couldn't be around Manson and his band still indulging.
Right.
So maybe I'm unfair by calling Courtney Love crazy for this point.
In that particular situation, yeah.
Exactly. But she dropped out of X-Fest this one year, just days before, and Everclear filled in.
Oh, no shit.
Yeah.
Last minute, huh?
Yeah, last minute. And Art had a cold and barely could perform. But it was really cool that he did that, I thought. And,
sure.
All the DJs were really like patting him on the back, like, yeah, hey, thanks a lot to Art and the company for coming out and playing and saving the festival and everything like that.
There was a few years back, Vertical Horizon came down to Virginia Beach, and the people now. I don't remember the names. I think, if I remember right, I think I have our picture like either on my Facebook page or on the. I don't know. That was another thing we're getting ready to do is on our social media and on the. T2M2.org website is we're going to be putting pictures of celebrities that we've been with and worked with and yada yada yada. Nice. We're going to be updating that. But anyway, the picture that I have with Vertical Horizon, I can't remember his name, but the lead singer
I don't
guy,
know. I have no clue what his name is.
Dude, this is a guy you would drink with.
Okay.
You personally, Jonathan Love, that you would drink with. I mean, I would drink with him, but hell, I would drink with Mother Teresa. I got low standards. But the lineup wasn't like the lineup. Like their bass player was this lady, and if I remember right, her name was Jennifer. Really, really pretty lady, and the lead singer had the guitarist, and I can't remember his name, little bitty fella, just a ridiculously nice guy. Because I wasn't even Faye was driving them, and I was just kind of hanging around.
Yeah.
And so anyway, they gave me a CD, and he says, if you hang out afterwards, then we'll get everybody to sign it, because I was going to get it for my girlfriend Jen.
Okay, gotcha.
So anyway, they had what I did. I thought it was just going to be into the concert that I would just give them the CD, they do it, and they sat there and they had a line probably 2 blocks long, and they shook the hand and they talked to every person that was in line. Yeah. And then after that, I felt like a jerk, because I was like, wow, so I'm going to be like the 5,000th person that you're going to sign the CD of, And anyway, they were like, no, so we sat around talking. I helped Faye, give them rides back to the hotel and all that.
Yeah.
But, yeah, that was somebody. They wherever they were at, it was down at the oceanfront, Virginia Beach, and they filled in too. And I don't remember who it was, but they filled in last minute too. Just down to earth.
Well, that's cool.
Yeah, man, I love running across people like that. And it's nice whenever you run across like. The top shelf people,
right.
like Damon John, I've ran into him a couple of times, and he's a really nice guy.
Good. Okay.
He's not a musician, but I mean, obviously, but he's a really nice guy, but he dresses nice and he eats good and he drinks good. And, and that brother's like butter, man. Everywhere he goes, he just flows, man. I mean, you'll never see no quick movements. But, I like, but he demands more out of life, I guess. Right. Whereas, people like, these folks that we're talking about, they're just like, meh, they're taking the same shit that we take,
Yeah.
But anyway, I didn't mean to steal thunder.
No. That was great. I enjoyed that, and I think that was a very entertaining exchange we had. So the song ends up peaking at 29 on the Billboard Hot 100. Number 5 on the alternative charts, and actually earned the number 1 modern rock spot. And also performed well in Canada, Australia, where they weathered a terrible tour that almost ended the band, New Zealand and Britain.
Really? Why?
Well, the Australian tour resulted in Art losing a couple of teeth when somebody threw a shoe and hit him. Their bassist, Craig Montoya, who was with them from the beginning until after that album that had AM radio on it. I think that's when he and the drummer left. But he had his acoustic bass stolen. Someone threw a lit, quote, explosive, and I could not find what it was. It seems like it was more powerful than a firecracker, though. Someone threw a lit explosive on stage and burned a stagehand. And then Art got hit with yet another shoe on his birthday as the audience sang happy birthday to him.
So it was just a shitty venue, or
No, this is multiple tour stops. This is like at least 3 or 4 different stops on the tour.
Right, but what I'm getting at, are these like shitty venues, or they just take music different out in those areas?
I don't know. Because, I mean, at this point in time, they would have been huge, so they would have been playing pretty decent-sized venues.
That's what I would thought, yeah.
I don't know. Maybe it's just that Australians are crazy sons of bitches. I mean, when you have everything in nature around you trying to kill you all the time, I mean, you're gonna
act a particular kind of way.
Yeah, you're gonna get a little crazy. Wow. So, needless to say, it was a terrible tour. But I digress yet again. So my question, back to the topic. The original question that I posed, was the song about his girlfriend's suicide, like we had always heard. Not quite, but very close. Mm-hmm. Now, this is one where I cannot find one definitive answer, but we can get pretty close. We can try to surmise what exactly it was. So, as it's been very well documented, Art Alexakis did not exactly have the smoothest of upbringings. As their later song "Father of Mine" mentioned, his father left at a very young age, 5 years old actually. Which I always assumed it was 10 due to the lyric from that song saying, "I was 10 years old doing all that I could. It wasn't easy for me to be a scared white boy in a black neighborhood." This upbringing, which is legitimate since his mother did actually move them into government housing after his father left, actually led to the subject matter of interracial dating on another single from the same album, the song being called Heart Spark $, which I remember when it was released as well. His mother, who was from the South, disapproved of him dating girls from other races, although he says she wasn't necessarily, quote, overtly racist, and didn't ever directly say she disapproved. But Art was talking about how, again, he grew up in a black neighborhood. He dated a lot of Hispanic girls, Asian girls, black girls, Jewish girls even. He said the one his mother seemed to react the most strongly against was actually a Jewish girl, although it didn't seem to be anti-Semitism so much as the fact that the girl was relatively well off and they were poor as shit. Mm-hmm. But
where did you grow up? In California, you said?
Yeah. He most of the time he grew up in California. I'll mention that here literally in just 1 second. Okay. He developed a substance abuse problem early on, and his brother actually overdosed from heroin when Art was only 12. So as a result of this substance abuse problem, his family moved him around the country a lot, including at one point moving him to Texas to live with his estranged father's new family. But the drug problem still persisted. But he did, again, spend most of the time in California there. At 15, his girlfriend committed suicide via heroin overdose.
Oh, jeez.
And he actually witnessed it. Oh. And later recounted this experience with the lyrics to another single from Sparkle and Fade, the same album, appropriately titled Heroin Girl.
Wow.
So shortly after she committed suicide, he filled his pockets with sand and lead weights and jumped off the Santa Monica Pier.
Oh, geez.
He tried to commit suicide as well. So it looks like, judging by these circumstances and the fact that he jumped off the pier, and looking at the lyrical content of the song, it seems to me like actually rather than being directly about her suicide, he was writing about his suicide attempt in response to her suicide.
Oh, wow.
So, I did see a lot of people and a lot of theories talking about it being about her suicide, but after reading all of this backstory, it definitely seems to me like it has to be more about his suicide attempt. Like the lyric that you quoted at the beginning, "Big black boots and an old suitcase." Mm-hmm. He's talking about his experience here. There were some other lyrics from the song that seems to back this up too. Now I can't think. I don't want to do your sleepwalk dance anymore. He's saying, "I don't want to live anymore." Yeah. And with heroin, it's obviously a central nervous system depressant as well. So a lot of times you'll hear people saying, if you've ever seen someone who's on heroin, they're almost always about to fall asleep, it seems like, or on the nod, as the common expression goes. And so that's because he was addicted to heroin as well, and that's very well documented too. So taking all this into consideration, I definitely have to say it seems to me more likely that the song is about his own suicide attempt.
Wow.
Although indirectly also related to hers. So that's how I take it, at least. So
wow.
Yeah, pretty sad.
You know, I'm always fascinated by, I guess, people with talent that, you know, they could take shit like that and then, you know what? I think I'm going to write a song. You know, I go through shit like that and I'll be like, man, I'm going to McDonald's drive-thru. Screw this. You know, it just fascinates me how they can focus that into.
It's therapy. I mean, like, even for me, you know, just writing for the magazine that I write for, a lot of times my opinion piece is really somewhat therapeutic.
Yeah.
So it's a good way to vent stuff. It
Sure.
is.
Yeah,
I'll
get it
say
out
that
of your
much.
system. Yeah.
So I can understand where he's coming from with that. Yeah. And you know, as I mentioned too at the beginning of the segment, a lot of that music from that time was very autobiographical. Mm-hmm. And cathartic is the best word, and it's a word you see used to describe a lot of grunge music, which Everclear got compared to Nirvana a lot, and some of their songs, like Heroin Girl, sounds a lot like Nirvana. Mm-hmm. I will say that much. But Santa Monica sounds nothing like anything Nirvana ever wrote, and Dave Grohl actually addressed that at one point. Someone asked him in '96 if it was like during like an MTV news interview or something like that, asked Dave Grohl if he thought that Everclear was ripping off Nirvana, and he's like, no, I think Bush is.
Oh, shut up.
That's not exactly how he worded it.
Right, but that's the way he took it.
Yeah, and that's how, he basically said, no, I don't think Everclear really sounds that much like Nirvana did, but Bush does.
Wow.
And I agree with him personally, but so very, very interesting.
That's heavy, man.
Yeah.
So, is that you got anything else before we bring it home?
That's really all I've got, honestly.
One thing I wanted to throw in before we get done is today is my partner James. It is his 1 year anniversary. It was a year ago today.
I saw that. I saw him posting that on Facebook.
Yeah, a year ago today, I was the best man at his wedding. Worst decision he ever made was asking my fat ass to come down there. So, James and Nikki, I can't wait to hear what kind of names that she's going to be calling you in another 19 years, but hopefully I'll be around to hear it.
Congratulations, you guys. That's awesome.
You guys are awesome.
James is a good dude, and we I don't know if many listeners know this, but James and I actually did try to record an episode of the podcast one time, and not his fault. It turned out terribly, so badly that we could not use the audio quality was terrible, not the content. James, God bless him, did his absolute best. The audio quality was just terrible, so we couldn't use it. But great guy.
We're going to try it again in the future, though.
Yeah, and maybe we can get him a better mic to use, because I think that's what the issue was. I think it might have been. I don't know. We'll figure that out.
Well, I'm in talks with Brandon right now, our IT guy.
Oh, yeah.
Going to get all that situation unscrewed. So,
Good.
So anyway, congratulations, y'all, and Nikki, you could have done so much better. So anyway, I love you guys and congratulations. So let's bring it home, brother.
All right. Well, guys, as always, if you have any urban myths or legends you would like for us to research and talk about on the show, you can contact us on our Facebook page, Tall Tales and Music Mythology, or on Twitter at T2M2 Podcast, or you can email us at hosts, HOSTS, at T2M2.org.
And you can always get a hold of me on the web at thesmartsproject.com. And our complaint department is open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week at randy@thesmartsproject.com. In the meantime, now more than ever, be kind to each other. Tell your kids you love them each and every day. Never be a myth.
Always be a legend.
Love you. Bye.
Bye.